You know, I'd probably get more traction on YouTube if I chose to talk about new Transformers toys that people are interested in. Definitely seems like a sound strategy. But instead of doing that, I'm going to talk about Earthrise Grapple. I think it's fair to say at this point that the Earthrise version of Grapple is one of those Transformers that's acquired a bit of a reputation, and not in a good way. More than a year on from his release, he's supposed to be this figure that clogged up toy shelves everywhere, the bot that nobody wants. That seems to be in part due to some disastrous quality control issues that I'll get to. For the record, by the time I got around to trying to find a place that actually had Grapple in stock online a few weeks ago, he seemed to be sold out everywhere. Maybe he just doesn't perform well at brick and mortar retail. It could be that visually he just doesn't appeal to people when they see him on a shelf, I don't know. He looks fine to me. Out of the package and in robot mode, I really don't have too much to complain about. Grapple isn't a million miles away from his original Generation 1 figure, albeit stylized to closer match his cartoon design. He's actually a lot slimmer than the Graps we saw in the show, so I guess you could consider him to be something of a balancing act between the two designs. Because Grapple inherits so many of the design elements of the original toy, he retains some of its limitations. He still has the head in a box that rests on top of the cab. You can spin his head around, but his range of vision is going to be very limited. If you're looking for a more practical Grapple figure and aren't bothered about cartoon accuracy, may I refer you instead to his 2011 incarnation, Solar Storm Grapple.
Well, ooh-la-dee-da, Mr. Frenchman.
Aside from the head, Grapple's articulation is in line with what you've probably come to expect from current collector-focused Transformers. Ankle tilt, shoulder, bicep, elbow movement. No wrist movement, but that's because the fists are a single piece that rotates to allow you to attach the nozzle piece if you want for additional cartoon accuracy, or give him a claw hand. Transformation begins smoothly enough. Pop the head off the top of the cab and revolve the face around. That whole section can then be pulled back to sit on the ground. Fold in the fists, flip up the feet, then pull the whole lower half of the body back to form the rear section of the vehicle. The arms fold back behind the cab and the crane arm locks into the feet. And when I say it locks into place, I mean it locks into place. This is where the trouble begins. The pegs on Grapple's crane arm section are much too tight for the holes in his feet. Once they're in there, and it takes some trying to unlock them. A lot of people have had them snap off in the process of trying to convert him back to robot mode. I'd hoped that maybe the fact that I'd left it so long to purchase Grapple would have given Hasbro some time to make adjustments, given what a widespread issue it is. There's no way they couldn't have known about this as soon as reviews started popping up. The best advice I can give is to not push the pegs in all the way. Just have them rest in the holes very slightly, otherwise you're going to have a fight on your hands to get them back out. It does mean that the vehicle mode isn't going to hang together as well as it should, unfortunately. As a proper workaround, I'm considering carving out the holes a little, but I think it goes without saying that no one should have to start cutting away at their Transformers to allow them to go from robot to vehicle as intended. Mercifully, I'm told that this was corrected for Kingdom Inferno. As it stands, I can't in good conscience recommend Grapple on his own unless you're willing to do a bit of aftermarket modding. And to be clear, that really is the only thing holding him back. I like the robot mode, and on paper the crane truck is otherwise absolutely fine, but sometimes one glaring flaw can be the difference between success and failure, and this is one of those times. With Grapple I knew what to expect going in, but with his buddy Hoist I really had zero expectations. The good news is there are no major flaws here, at least that I can see. This Autobot is a solid all-rounder. Much like with the Grapster, this design borrows heavily from the cartoon model without going overboard. He could have ended up being really top-heavy and portly, but again some restraint has been shown in that regard. You'll notice he's very scuffed, which I know is going to be divisive. It's not a look I'm often fond of, but I'm actually okay with it here. Hoist is going to be more focused on fixing up the other Autobots than on his own appearance. Him looking roughed up works a lot better than it would for Trax or Sunstreaker. Earthrise Hoist actually resembles the original Generation 1 version more than I might have expected him to. To the surprise of no one, he has better proportions now. Now we just get some modest silver paint apps instead of the shoddy chrome present on my Encore hoist. But all things considered, it's amazing how close they are, right down to the arm kibble. Even the screw placement on the shoulders is the same. OG hoist had the option of swapping out either of the fists for a missile, and the new incarnation allows you to slot an arm cannon over either hand. Articulation on the lower body is about equivalent to what we got with Grapple. The elbows are hinged and will raise up and down, but I think it goes without saying that the arm kibble may restrict what you can get away with. Hoist is fairly tall for a deluxe, and I feel sure that was deliberate. Put him next to Grapple, who's Voyager class, and they scale together very well. I really have to think these two were designed to be paired together. Transformation really had me scratching my head because I was drastically overthinking it. Unhook the backpack, raise up the arms and flip up the panels they're attached to. Unhook the torso from the waist and fold it back and over. Fold the feet up into the thighs and position the arms so that they're under the hood, which is then folded forward. The orange backpack then locks into the truck bed. What threw me is that I was trying to figure out how the forearms are supposed to be concealed, and the answer is, they're not. They just rest there. From certain angles you won't notice them, other times they're hard to miss. I'm trying not to let it spoil an otherwise stellar vehicle mode. In my review of Studio Series Jazz, I talked about how he was a great callback to the glamorous sports cars that were one of the most appealing elements of early Generation 1. Earthrise Hoist feels like the other side of that coin, the more utilitarian vehicles from those first 2 years that also had their roots in Diaclone, the vans and trucks. He's not diecast, but he feels so hefty, so durable and so premium in this mode that he's the next best thing to diecast. To the untrained eye, put the 1985 Hoist next to the new version, and at a glance you'd be hard pressed to tell them apart. Well, except for the fists. And again, as you might expect, when paired with Grapple as vehicles, they go well together. Really, Hoist is an easy recommend on his own. Grapple, I think, is worth considering if you own or plan to own both. Next time. Everything old is new again as Titans Return heroes and villains get re-released, with a few tweaks, in Generation 1 style packaging. Mindwipe, Weirdwolf and Hydra are in the spotlight as we look at some retro headmasters.